Hi, this is Carlos Cousins, and we're now going to be looking at a sentence completion question. So, we should be worried about here is yes, the vocab words and the answer choices, but also any clues that may be given in the sentence that will guide you to pick answer choices more in a more informed, more responsible manner. So, for example, if you had seen words such as despite or though at the beginning or however in the middle, you would know that the idea here in the front of in the first part of the sentence should be inherently different from the one here at the end. But instead, you see here a semicolon. And a semicolon works much like a because, in that it divides a sentence into two clauses, where the second clause elaborates on the first clause. So it will either provide examples that will justify it or will enlighten some form of assumption that led to the first half of the sentence being formulated in the first place. So we're going to go ahead and establish as a criterion that any pair of vocab words that we choose must also provide a cause for the first half of the sentence here, that an ambassador should not denounce aspects of local politics that seem inferior or misguided. So an ambassador, this just to understand what it means, should not criticize the local politics of the place where the ambassador will be stationed because she believes that these politics are inferior or misguided. So they're misinformed or below what they should be in some form or another. So let's go ahead and try the first pair of words here. Oops, sorry about that. So we've got arrogance and legitimate. So the reason this might be is because her diplomatic post will not profit from arrogance. So that makes sense. The post doesn't gain anything from an ambassador being arrogant, in that an arrogant person isn't very likable and would deteriorate relationships between the country that stationed her wherever she is and the local country where she's stationed. So that makes sense so far. And the post does not legitimate the giving of unsolicited advice. So legitimate meaning here that they're going to back up as the legitimate position of the state. So it makes sense that the country that's stationing her there is not going to back up what she says if she's criticizing the country where she's stationed, because that's, again, going to disrupt relations between the two countries. Um, so this one makes sense so far, but let's go ahead and see if any of the other answer choices make sense. So her diplomatic post will not profit from complicity. Um, so this doesn't make much sense in that we don't know if what's being complicit here. Are we talking about the ambassador being complicit in the same local politics and then being hypocritical and denouncing? Or are we talking about the post being complicit by virtue of her position in the statements that she's making? Either way, it's a negative thing. So we're going to go ahead and move on here. And the post does not eradicate the giving of unsolicited advice. Well, if we're not eradicating it or getting rid of it, then why are we saying that the ambassador should not do it? So this one definitely doesn't make sense. Let's go ahead and try the third option. So an ambassador should not denounce aspects of local politics that seem inferior or misguided. Her diplomatic post will not profit from prejudice. So that makes sense so far if we're thinking about the ambassador thinking that the local politics seem inferior for some reason. And the post does not malign the giving of unsolicited advice. So malign here is a bad word in that it means to state something negative with evil intent about the giving of unsolicited advice. And this is not really evil intent. We're simply saying that it should not be done here in the first sentence. And that's because it might have negative consequences for the country. So this doesn't make sense. The fourth option here, diplomatic post will not profit from dominance. Well, already this doesn't seem very, very appealing because making a statement one way or another doesn't dominate anything. And then the last option, her diplomatic post will not profit from pandering. So you wouldn't be pandering anyone if you're denouncing them, if you're criticizing them. Quite the opposite. You'd be denouncing them. So this doesn't make sense either already. So this first answer choice here is the best one. I hope that helped with this question. And happy prepping, everybody.